Did you had any idea that portion of the us millennial tycoons live in a solitary state, California? The inquiry that you most likely have as a top priority is, do they move to California subsequent to becoming moguls or previously? Yet when you see what's going on, the response is clear. Silicon Valley is the focal point of development and new businesses. So it's not shocking that youthful, capable individuals move to California to vie for the most rewarding position in tech. Computer programmers effectively make a couple $100,000 here. Yet that is not what makes them moguls. Most organizations utilize investment opportunities to pay workers. Assuming you're a difficult worker and you work for Google, for instance, they would rather not lose you. At the center of development and progress is the human brain. So the most effective way to keep you working for them is to pay you with investment opportunities. You will get a specific measure of stocks. Assuming that you work for the organization for 3, 5, or 10 years, a year passes or 2, and you need to change your work and work for Zach in light of the fact that he changed the name of the organization to match her. You can't, since, in such a case, that you leave. Your choices will terminate and you need to remain till the finish of your agreement to utilize that choice. That is fundamentally what next the tycoons. Truth be told, when organizations pay their workers with stocks, they're charge deductible. So everybody benefits. The organization makes these stocks out of nowhere. They're charge deductible, and they're worth very much of cash, which makes this skilled individuals moguls. It's a mutually beneficial arrangement, yet it's typical for abundance to collect in one city or one state or in the possession of a little gathering. 43.4% of the world's abundance is constrained by the top 1%. Pareto standard is noticeable all over. However, what we need to zero in on in this video are the speculations you need to make to be in the top 1%. What enterprises will overwhelm the future? And where would it be a good idea for you to contribute to at no point ever work in the future? We will address these inquiries and some more, yet before we do that, offer this video a go ahead, and here is a little disclaimer. This isn't monetary counsel. What's more, all that is expressed in this video is for instructive and amusement purposes. Also, presently, how about we make a plunge? However, before we do that, I need to impart to you an astounding instrument that I have gone over as of late. What is the most ideal way to set aside cash? You could say cutting your $5 morning espresso, or taking the public vehicle, or cooking a tongue. Yet, imagine a scenario where I let you know that you can save a fortune without keeping yourself all from getting these delights by further developing your financial assessment. Since when you're out there, for instance, attempting to get a home loan, a higher FICO assessment implies a lower contract rate. A solitary rate can save you a large number of dollars. That is the reason I utilize a Visa to raise my FICO assessment, yet I hit credit since. Supposing that you miss a solitary installment, you will be charged and convincing exorbitant interest. That is the place where the present video support comes in. Extra is a charge card that forms your credit and acquires rewards focuses. Very much like a MasterCard. Whenever you interface Extra to your current ledgers, you swipe your card and additional spots for regular buys, and an additional and auto repays themselves from your associated bank balance the following workday. Toward the month's end, all installments are followed up and answered to credit agencies. You won't just form your FICO assessment, yet in addition procure up to 1% in focuses for ordinary buys like rideshares, espressos, your telephone bills. Pursue Extra with the connection in my depiction and begin fabricating your credit with a check card. Indeed, at check card. Number 1 environment tech in the late 19th century. Oil, as far as we might be concerned today, was found, and it has in a real sense molded the world from that point forward. It prompted the creation of vehicles, planes, and rockets. It prompted the greatest foundation project throughout the entire existence of the US that shaved the whole country. As a matter of fact, assuming you return 100 quite a while back, oil was the ware that made America's first tycoon and the world's most extravagant individual. John Rockefeller understood the significance of this product and immediately began building his realm, where he in a real sense made a restraining infrastructure in the country. His privately invested money filled in 1913 to $900 million, which was practically 3% of the US GDP. 3% of the US GDP today is $630 billion, and that implies in those days he was more well off than Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos consolidated. That is the reason his domain was broken into 34 distinct organizations. these organizations actually exist today. What's more, that standing out, this industry likewise molded the international relations of the world, where it made Center-Eastern governments and ordinarily rich. Aramco, which is a state-claimed Saudi organization that controls the oil in the nation, is esteemed at more than $2 trillion. Also, a long time back, it was the world's most significant organization. Notwithstanding, the finish of oil is coming when overproduction has an incredible video on this, which you ought to look at in spite of the way that there is still a great deal of oil left in 2019. It has arrived at its pinnacle. The pattern is currently descending. Oil will be increasingly more costly to remove, and that implies oil costs will keep either rising or all organizations wouldn't have the option to make money, and that implies the interest for sustainable power is simply going to rise. What's more, environmental change is an issue that risks the whole eventual fate of mankind. These two variables are powering the environment tech industry. As oil has overwhelmed the last 150 years, the new bill tech will shape the following 100 years. Simply in 2021, environment tech new businesses have raised a record $32 billion internationally. This number is simply going to increment many years. So to cause a venture and be certain that it too is simply going to develop, put resources into this industry. Number 2, medical care. What occurred in 2020? Was business as usual in the event that we check our glance at the set of experiences elements has been going on since the beginning of time, and the latest one occurred in 1988. It was totally annihilating. However, over the most recent 100 years, as tech developed so quickly, future started to ascend too. That's what we understood. Assuming we care more for ourselves, we can without much of a stretch live 80, 90, or even 100 years. If north of 100 quite a while back, you would be fortunate to live past the 50. Presently life begins at 50, and 2020 was an admonition that assuming we quit zeroing in on what well-being, all that we fabricated could be annihilated in a brief look at an eye. Yet that is only one side of the story. The other is that we can make advances that can extend our life expectancy. For quite a while, mRNA, for instance, was considered as a trick, yet Modernize came in and made the first exude immunization. You don't have to infuse the real infection, yet enough to utilize it, to make comparative cells. With this innovation, we can make sedates quicker, better, and less expensive. Anybody who has put resources into Moderna has made enormous increases from that point forward. Anyway, bio and tech organizations are simply arising. You have Vertex, Rush, Pfizer. Obviously it's hazardous to make a solitary bet on any of these organizations. However, you can attempt Vanguard Wellbeing ETF. It in a real sense holds loads of the most conspicuous biotech organizations, like Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, and the rest. Number 3, VTI. Whenever individuals suggest an ETF, they normally talk about the S&P 500, yet it's not by any means the only ETF out there. S&P 500 organizations are extraordinary, however they're by all accounts not the only ones in the country. Starting at 2019, there has been 32.5 million organizations in the US, and large number of them are recorded in the Securities Exchange. So you need to profit from the S&P 500 organizations, yet the whole economy, even Tesla as of late joined the S&P 500. There are a lot of extraordinary organizations that are not on the S&P 500. The VTI ETF intends to repeat the structure of the US value market, giving a comprehensively differentiated and low turnover portfolio for a modest expense. It captures the entire investable US equity market. It is a very low fee, which makes it great for long-term investments. It's one of my favorite ETFs. Number 4, REITs. I have been in real estate since I was a teenager. It's one of the industries that I absolutely love, especially for the fact that it provides a stable cash flow. You have total control over it, and it keeps sending your paychecks. Of course, it's required some level of management, but it's manageable to a certain extent. Yet, what I like the most is that there are REIT ETFs, as VNQ, that put resources into numerous REIT. Number 5, online training. With the ascent of the web, schooling has become broadly available, particularly with places like Khan Foundation, Skillshare, and others. We ought to have moved to online training longer objective, yet we didn't. So 2020 pushed the whole world to move to online instruction. Also, it seems like this industry will detonate in the following 10 years or so. Today you can in a real sense access any data on the web, gain anything from YouTube and dominated any ability from your #1 blogger. There are different ways of putting resources into this area. Obviously you have customary means, for example, schooling organizations that are recorded on the Securities Exchange or ETFs that are centered around this industry. You could get into this industry all alone assuming you're adequate at something. However, I incline toward new businesses in this industry since they're becoming excessively quick and he's a colossal potential. I'm practically certain that a long time from now schooling will appear to be completely unique with these new instruments that we have like VR. Assuming that you have partaken in this video, you will most certainly partake in this custom playlist I have made explicitly for you that has our most famous recordings. Furthermore, presently offer this video a go-ahead that it merits and Metro to buy in. On the off chance that you haven't done that yet. A debt of gratitude is in order for watching. What's more, until sometime later. If you found this video helpful, make sure to give it a thumb up and share with your friend. Thank you for watching.